Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. Let's talk about some more news that good old dirt.
Okay, I thought everybody was going kung fu fighting.
Everyone's kung fu fighting.
Those cats were fast as lightning, I hear.
Those
All right, guys.
Cats.
This is going to be kind of a similar thing to what we did here for you guys Monday night there. I thought we're done with Giants news. I felt like, it's like we're off season. It's a slow time of the year. And stuff just keeps on popping up, guys. Like, it's kind of fun, actually. I kind of like that.
Juicy.
People are going to give previews of the year and stuff like that. Some people, some semi-positive on us. Some people, some very negative on us. We got people talking about, where everybody ranks, who's doing well in camp, all kinds of fun stuff here, guys. So let's get right into with the big story of today. Announced that Daniel Jones took his teammates to North Carolina for a workout there. And it's actually a pretty impressive list of guys there. I mean, it's all offensive guys, all skill position kind of guys, obviously. It's not like you took the whole, 90 plus people there at that point over to the to North Carolina. That'd be quite the hotel bill. But those who did attend, I think it's kind of telling. I think it says one of two things: people who made time to do what they have to do to make this roster, or I should say, or because it could be both.
It's to say could be both,
or people that Daniel Jones likes. Let's be honest. Like, listen, we've all had that schmuck coworker that people didn't like. You don't invite that guy out to North Carolina.
Touche.
So, unless he's a bigger man than I am, because I sure as hell wouldn't. Who knows? Maybe Daniel Jones is just that guy. Like, it's for the team. Like, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all if he was like that. It's for the team. Let's do it. I feel like none of us actually know Daniel Jones' real personality, though. Like, he could be the biggest jerk behind closed doors. We'd have no clue. He's got that, like, Tiger Woods thing going where, like, nobody knows what he thinks on anything. Nobody knows his opinion on anything. And next thing you know, we find out he's got, like, 10,000 girlfriends in Las Vegas. Who knows?
Pretty much. Go play 18 holes and then go golf.
He played more than 18, I heard. Anyway, the team members that did come, along with, obviously, Daniel Jones himself. That'd be kind of messed up if he didn't show up at his own workout. Quarterbacks Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. Oh, yes, Tommy DeVito. Wide receivers Darius Slayton, Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and Dennis Houston. Tight ends Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson, and Lawrence Cager. Only one running back. I was a little shocked by that. I thought Devin Singletary would be the guy that they would really get out there. And I got to think they at least requested or invited. But he wasn't there. It was our boy, Dante Turbo Miller.
It's double time.
Double. It is not the Duma. Getting the chopper. But yeah, this is an unofficial workout, though, guys, again. So it's not mandatory by anything. It's kind of a team-building exercise there. Also serves a pretty good bonding experience, I think, for the guys overall. Listen, people can talk about bonding as nothing when it boils down to it, but when you're going to fake battle, we know it's not real battle, but you're going into battle with these guys, it's nice to kind of get to know them, have a good relationship with them, and like spending time with them. That does actually matter, They even showed a video of the guys jet skiing together and stuff like that on Twitter. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's the kind of thing to do at that point there. It can't be all nonstop work. Then what happens is you have my life, and that's not fun.
Yeah. Womp.
So, but yeah, like I said, good to see overall. The workouts obviously are in between OTAs and training camp. It's basically been a Giants tradition since back in 2011 when Eli Manning started doing it. Now, he started doing it as the players were locked out at the time and couldn't actually have their own, camps with the teams there. So they went ahead and did, and on their own, basically, which is very admirable. I mean, part of why Eli was Eli at that point. He's like, well, If you're going to lock me out of the building, I'm going to bring my own building. He brought the guys down to Duke at that point and, did some workouts there. So, good to see that tradition is continuing. We'll have to see if the next quarterback after Daniel Jones continues. I know I'm a jerk. It's
wop
okay.
wop.
It's okay. It's
too
okay.
soon.
Is it too soon? It's never too soon. It didn't even happen yet. It's not even too soon. It's like prognosticating at this point. But obviously prognosticating the pretty obvious.
Ooh.
Who knows? He might shock us and have a really good year. I hope so. I really do. Again, he's a Giant, but yeah. Tells me otherwise.
I hope that you're wrong.
Yes.
For the Giants' sake.
Former Giants and teammates of Eli Manning here. We got some kind of crazy, disturbing, sad news here from our old buddy Antonio Pierce, who's, of course, now the head coach over in the Las Vegas Raiders there. And yeah, there's a picture of that empty wallet there because his wife has officially filed for divorce. So it looks like back in the 2010s, Antonio Pierce invested in some car dealerships, during which he made some personal guarantees. Now, for those who may not know what that means, if you give a personal guarantee, it says, listen, they're going to pay you. And if they don't, I will. That's the scary thing when you're not the one in control of all the financial decisions. It's like I would never do personally, but I also don't have that kind of money to make those kind of investments. So who knows? Anyway, when the businesses stopped paying on those loans, the lenders went after those who had made personal guarantees, including Pierce. The Nissan Motor Acceptance Corporation has a $23 million judgment against Antonio Pierce. The Hyundai Capital America has a $4.5 million judgment, which is scary when that seems small because of the first one. That's still a ton of money right there. So, it's a huge amount. It's $27.5 million altogether for those who aren't the best at math. So his wife filed for divorce as a filed for bankruptcy. No, she didn't file for divorce. That's a bad slip. Yeah. She filed for bankruptcy as a result. Who knows? Maybe they're fighting. I'd probably be fighting. If
you're about to lose $27 million, I'm sure your wife would be on.
Usually a fight in marriages over that. But yeah, she filed for bankruptcy. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people are confused about this as well. I don't pretend to be a financial expert, but why did she file instead of him? That is one thing that was a little interesting. I saw a bunch of other people asking the same questions, and I don't mean like on Twitter or on Facebook. I mean like articles saying we're not sure why she did this instead of him. Yeah, yeah. So it's a bit confusing at that point. There, obviously, there's a lot of legal stuff and reasons why people do this. This is why people with tons of money hire accountants, lawyers, and things like that to make the decisions for them. There's probably some legal benefit, I have to imagine. Obviously, he signed a brand new deal with the Raiders, like I said, to be a head coach for them this offseason after being the interim head coach for the second half of the year. The Raiders do not release the terms of their head coaches or coaches in general. It is believed to be a 3-year deal. But obviously, articles are going like easy. Oh, Antonio Pierce could be working for free now, blah, 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 which is like, that just sounds bad, but it might be kind of true. We'll see.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of what Pierce did as a player here, guys, because Pierce is one of those guys, because he played when he played. Like the Giants were obviously the first Super Bowl run with Antonio Pierce. He was there for the good years. The year that Plexico shot himself, before that we were on pace to be like the team in the NFL. Like he was there for some really great Giants years. And I feel like we put him on a pedestal, kind of, so to speak, as a player because of that. But he's not he didn't make the same kind of money that the guys make now. I mean, it's just not, it's a different era he played in, guys. So I know people think that, like, oh, here we go. He made a lot of money probably with football. He's good to go. So, like Bobby Okereke, for example, we signed him. I'll use him as the most recent big signing we had at the linebacker position. 4 years, $40 million. So 10 years, $10 million a year, basically. Pierce, 6 years, $26 million was his contract he signed with the Giants, guys. So that's less than $5 million a year, which is a lot at the time. Like, don't get me wrong, that was a good contract to get at the time. But that's like what you give a backup linebacker now. So, it's one of those things now where he might not have that kind of money lying around because he wasn't making the big bucks these guys make nowadays. Obviously he's made other investments. Hopefully those have panned out for him because I don't know legality as far as how easy these things are to get out of, but I can't imagine if you gave a personal guarantee that is not without things like bankruptcy, which are there for a reason, obviously, not necessarily very easy to get around things. And part of the thing you have to look at also is where does he live? Or does it matter where he works? Because there's different laws in different states as far as bankruptcy. That's why when people like let's say OJ, for example, when he owed a lot of money to the Goldman family after their civil suit they went against him after losing the initial, criminal suit, he immediately bought a house in Florida, and the most expensive house he can buy, because your primary residence is protected in Florida from bankruptcy. So there's different stuff, and this is why you get lawyers involved and all this kind of stuff, and accountants, because they know these rules and loopholes and what they can do to help you out there at that point. So, hopefully Antonio Pierce will be just fine. Hopefully he's got that money just lying around at that point there, made some good investments. I don't know. I don't pretend to know the man's finances. I barely know my own. God damn it. It's like, I don't even know what I have in the bank right now. Who knows? Got something.
Might be having ramen for dinner tonight. Ramen noodles.
Nothing wrong with some ramen noodles there at that point. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't know. This could be a drop in the bucket for him if he made a lot of great investments. This could be like, I'm screwed. My whole life savings are gone. I have to sell my house. Like, chances are it's probably somewhere in the middle. He's probably got some of it lying around. He'll probably have to make payments to pay the rest of it off there, or he'll file for that bankruptcy, and that'll protect him enough where he's good to go and won't have to pay it. I don't know. We'll find out. Just hope the best for him. He was listen, he's always a great guy in the locker room and a great Giant overall when he was with us. You never heard a disparaging word from any of his teammates. He was very well respected in the organization years after he left. I know that a lot of guys that were with him during the Giants said great things about him, obviously, when he's hired by the Raiders there. So, all the best of luck to him with everything, because that's not a fun scenario to go through at that point.
No.
This is why I go low risk investments. I don't.
You don't put a guarantee load on your name.
Yeah. Well, I also would never be in the position to have $27.5 million in debt that I am responsible for. That's just crazy. But I also don't make the kind of money that he's making even now, let alone back then. So let's get into our next topic here. So Malik Neighbors called out Trayvon Diggs. And to be honest, this one happened like last week for you guys. I know we didn't really talk about it because it just had a lot of stuff going on. But this story, I'm still hearing people asking about it here when I talked about Giants football. So let's bring it up here, because Neighbors was asked during an interview with Bleacher Report there about who was the one defensive back that he couldn't wait to match up against. He said Cowboys corner Trayvon Diggs. So Diggs posted the video actually on Twitter and said this. He said, Giants been getting belt for some years now. He's not wrong there. I hate to say it. He's
no.
He's not wrong, guys. Then Neighbors replied literally with a coffin. Like a picture of a little emoji, not like an
emoji,
actual, like photograph, an emoji of a coffin. Which I must have missed that in the animated Emoji movie. I don't think that was in that one. So, it adds a little bit layer of excitement and fun to the matchup. Obviously, the Giants play the Cowboys, twice a year, every year. They're playing this week. Weeks 4 and 13 this year. The Cowboys, again, like we talked about, they've kind of destroyed the Giants lately. They really beat the crud out of us last year. I really think that first week matchup loss will kill the whole season. It just team confidence after that. They've literally beaten us 9 of the last 10 times, guys. Like, that's how bad it's been. Like, that's not good. As far as Diggs specifically, obviously he's coming off the ACL tear. He also may not even be the Cowboys' number 1 corner the next season, because great season by Deron Bland. Bland obviously last year had literally 6 pick sixes. Like, that's
which is amazing,
unheard of.
Unheard
of.
I don't want to give kudos or respect to a Dallas player, but
listen,
you have to.
You know what my big curiosity is? So Bland is a guy who's going for picks. Obviously, worked out for him last year. Let's be honest. When you're overly aggressive, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's life in the NFL when you have an overly aggressive corner. it's got to be kind of curious to see when Diggs get back, because Diggs is the same way. He's overly aggressive, goes for the interception. He gets burnt sometimes for it as well. Let's not forget the legendary Kadarius Toney game when he had only half of his career receiving yards in that one game. It's the truth. He did one game against Trayvon Diggs and just made him look bad, point blank. So, I love to see if Neighbors even gets him, or if they put, Bland on him the whole entire time. We'll see what happens. I'm not so sure either way, because we don't even know what kind of scheme they're going to have fully, because, Zimmer is now the defensive coordinator now over in Dallas as well. So they're like us, dealing with the whole brand new defense. In fact, basically every single NFC East team is dealing with a new defense. Now you think about it. Eagles got a new defensive coordinator. Cowboys got a new one. We got our new one. Commanders got a whole new coaching staff.
That's what I say.
That's kind of crazy to think about that. All new defenses there. Kind of adds a little bit of intrigue there. What's interesting too is last year Deonte Banks talked some trash about the Commanders. So this is becoming a New York Giants first round pick tradition.
Tradition there.
Kind of like Eli started back in 2011 with the whole offseason workouts. We got a new tradition being started apparently, because last year Banks went literally on Instagram Live after the second time the Giants beat the Commanders and said this. He said, "They could have come and got me at 16 and they didn't. Now I'm 2-0 against you, bum." We'll say butt. He didn't say butt. We'll say bum butt boys. Then he says a nice little 4-letter word that begins with F. The Commanders. They think they slick. They finna see me 2 times a year until the end of my career. 2 times a year. Should have come and got me. Yeah, like he definitely took it personally. For those who aren't aware, Banks went to school in Maryland, but he's also a local guy to that DC area as well. So there might be a little bit of personal, like, what the hell, why didn't you take me? You had your chance. I could have played for my home area thing. It's not to say he's not happy being a Giant. I'm not trying to say that, but
yeah.
Let me put it this way. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't care who drafted me. I'd be happy to be an NFL player playing for a team that wanted me and is willing to give me millions of dollars to have play a game of football. But that wouldn't stop the fact that if the Giants passed up on me, I'd be a little ticked.
100%.
So I get it. I do. But yeah, we'll have to see next year who we draft and who they trash talk about. But, you got to wonder, like, is Diggs going to go after Neighbors in some way, shape, or form? Does this add fuel to the fire? And if so, does that make him even more aggressive and more apt to maybe even make a mistake there? What do you think, Rob?
I think so. Like, I don't even think this is going to be fair to watch Diggs try to compete against anyone, because he's going to try to go like he used to, but he's not going to have the right step in him. But I think guys, what was that?
You said not kind of have the right stuff?
Well, no, I'm saying I think he's not going to be. He's going to miss a step. Like, he's not going to be as fast as he thinks
the right
he is. Like, he's
got the right step before, and I got the new kids in the block in my head.
You smell like a lot of fish. Chinese food makes me sick.
What the hell?
When the girls stop by for the summer.
I must not know that New Kids on the Block song.
That's a song about the New Kids on the Block. Anyway.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that You Got the Right Stuff song they did back in the day.
You got the right stuff. Anyway, yeah.
Rob,
I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't call you baby. It was a lyric.
Oh, you call me baby. That's right.
Oh, baby.
I don't think Diggs is going to be on Neighbors really, unless it's going to be like.
I don't know, because Bland was also, keep in mind, he was a guy who played, the slot corner position before the injury to Diggs at that point. But you also got Gilmore gone, so you got to think they'd keep him on the outside after having a lot of success last year and having the spot still for him. I don't know what they do at that point there, because now they're going to have 2 guys that play very similar styles, have very similar skills overall. One with a little bit of a track record, but also coming off an injury. Like, I don't know where they would put him in. Is he your number 1? Is he your number 2? Or do you give him left side, right side, and just let him stick there like they used to do, for a lot of defenses there? I don't know which one you do, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to call. I think it's going to be game by game, play by play.
I'm a little curious. I will say this. I hope it gives more fuel to Neighbors. I really do.
Oh, 100%.
I freaking love the idea of him getting fueled up and beating the crap out of the Cowboys.
Yeah. I see him leaving a lot of eggs on the faces of the corners in Dallas.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big news that happened this week that was like the shortest video ever that made the biggest mark on Giants' thoughts on the offseason right now. And that's the Hard Knocks trailer. Oh, yes, the Hard Knocks trailer got released.
The Hard Knocks life.
For us. It's been a hard knock life being a Giant fan the last couple of years, at least the last decade or so.
Yeah, I was going to say decade.
But yeah, I mean, the Hard Knocks trailer, there's a couple of things that are really big on that there. The first one that everybody can't stop talking about is the fact they get a little snippet of Saquon Barkley. And Joe Schoen's on the phone and appears to be talking to Saquon Barkley and says, "Can you give us your word on that, or are you not going to give us a chance?" And, you know, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post, and this is a direct quote he gave, he said, "My reporting is NYG never made Barkley an offer all offseason, and that call happened before any offers came in from the Eagles." Again, it's a trailer. It's a small snippet. We don't know. But if you really want to know what the Giants think of Barkley post him signing with the Philadelphia Eagles, guys, this is where you're going to find out. Because if the Giants think highly of him, they're not going to publicly embarrass him. And what I mean by that, I know it's a TV show. We're like, oh, well, a TV show is going to do it. No, the Giants had approval for final cut in this, guys. And I don't mean the trailer. I mean the whole show. So they really don't want to embarrass Saquon. They're not going to go ahead and put that kind of stuff out there if that's the case. Now, if they feel like Saquon, because he did a lot of talking this offseason, if they feel like he gave something that wasn't the full truth, made them seem less interested than they actually were, then yeah, they're gonna do a little damage control in the process, guys. That's gonna happen, and you can't blame them at that point. There, they want to kind of set the record straight, and they got videos to do it. So, at the same point, you got to wonder, especially for a nationally shown, recorded TV show, that for a phone call like that, Saquon had to have given permission to be on a recorded conversation like that. I would imagine.
You would imagine.
I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV. It's a very nice show. Suits. No, I'm kidding. I wish I was on Suits. It's a cool show. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine that he's required to give that permission to do that. And I can't imagine he would be dumb enough to do stuff when he cares about his image so much that he knows will come out later on.
Unless it was like right in his contract somewhere, if they get.
Yeah,
which could have been like with that extension, it could have been like, hey, listen, your audio might be used. One of those fine print lines might be used if we get on Hard Knocks or this and that. I think they already knew about Hard Knocks when they did that. I think it just wasn't announced yet. I mean, I have to imagine that he knew, and I have to imagine that this is probably something to spice up interest overall in the show coming up. And that's what their job is. Let's be honest. You cut a trailer not to give a synopsis, but to intrigue people to watch that might not otherwise. We were going to watch anyways, but we are intrigued. We are intrigued now. Demi Moore.
Yes. Demi Moore? What? Demi Moore's going to be the show?
Yes.
Striptease 2, starring the New York Giants. G.I. Jane. Got to be careful about
G.I. Jones.
Got to be careful about G.I. Jane jokes. Next thing you know, Will Smith's coming down to slap me. Now they also
G.I. Jane out of your mouth.
They also talked briefly about the Brian Burns thought process as well. The quote from Joe Schoen was, "What about?" Oh, no, sorry. This was it was Schoen talking to Daboll, and he said, "What about Brian Burns? Have you looked at Brian Burns? We would have to trade like 2 twos, and then you'd have to pay him $28 to $29 million." That's what he said. It's very interesting. Because the money was 100% correct, basically. Where I mean, if they could take out the bonuses and all, that's basically where he was. But the Giants gave away a second, a fifth, and then swapped fifth rounders with the Panthers. So if you're a Panthers fan, after the Panthers turned down multiple first-round picks in past offers for him, including the famous one with the Rams a couple years ago, you got to be pissed right now. Like, that's not a good look for Dan Morgan, their GM. You know, that really can't be. And it's funny, because this is the second episode in a row we've talked about Dan Morgan. Obviously, there was rumor about him getting in front of the Giants at that point and taking Jonathan Brooks. I wonder if that's a little slap. Like you got Jonathan Brooks, that bastard. We're going to put him in the Hard Knocks trailer. Oh, what's that? we would give up all the farm for this guy, but we're going to give them peanuts. And they'll take the peanuts. Here you go. Little peanut here, little peanut there. I mean, that's basically what they did. I mean, that's not giving up a lot for the guy. Now, granted, you had to pay him. That kind of brought down his value because you weren't going to get the cheap years out of him anymore. But they thought they'd have to give up 2 second-round picks, and they didn't. I mean, a fifth-round swap is nothing. That means absolutely nothing. That's like a throw-in. Like, oh, I want more. Oh, I'll do this to shut up and take this. And that's the kind of conversation.
Excellent.
Excellent. But like to give up a second and a fifth when you thought you're going to give up a 2 seconds, like that's a steal, man. That's a steal. I kind of hope to go more in the conversation of how that deal went down, how the negotiations went, because I'm kind of curious. What did Joe Schoen first offer him? I'll give you a second-round pick. Oh, okay, you got me into it. Here's a
second and sixth.
Here's a fifth rounder as well. Throw it in. What the hell? Let's throw in a swap just to sweeten the deal. Take the damn offer while you got it.
I'll give you a Happy Meal toy.
I will throw in free pens that I stole from the bank. They didn't put them all in just string. Like I said, I'm kind of curious how that goes. The biggest shock that I think I had in the whole scenario, and it's funny that they're like, I saw some people reporting in the voiceover. No, the voiceover, yes, it was a voiceover at the beginning of the trailer, but the voice was clearly Joe Schoen. If you didn't know it was Joe Schoen, you need to stop covering the Giants. And he's on the phone, and he says, we should stay and pick, right? This is Atlanta. Talk to the rest of the guys in the draft room. So this definitely seems to imply, at the very least, if not kind of flat out say it, but again, you see a little clip, I'm not going to say 100% what's going on, that the Falcons were interested in moving down from 8 to number 6. So that opens up a whole can of questions here. Was it for Penix? Were they apparent that the Giants were going to take him? Or did they want Neighbors? Because everybody kind of thought that they would go QB or Neighbors, basically. What would the Giants have gotten for the 6th overall pick? I can tell you this. I did look at trade value charts. When I saw that, I was kind of curious what the trade value was. We would have given up a 3rd-round pick. I said we would have gotten a 3rd-round pick, basically, to move down 2 spots, according to the trade value chart. Obviously, people overpay for big deals like that, so maybe we would have gotten a 2nd-round pick. Maybe we would have gotten potentially next year's 1st or something like that. But it's intriguing because it's kind of like, did the Giants not like a Dunze? Because that's who you got to think would be available at 8 in that scenario. And if that's the case, is a Dunze and a 2nd-round pick better than Neighbors? And that all depends on what you think of those 2 players, because they're both top-notch talents. I got to wonder if the Giants just not want a Dunze, or did they think he wouldn't fit their scheme? Because, I mean, he's that big, throw up the ball kind of receiver at that point. We saw what happened with Kenny Golladay. That didn't really work out. Was that Kenny Golladay not working out overall, or Kenny Golladay just being damaged goods? Probably a combination of both, to be honest.
Let's say column A, column B.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, this brings up a ton of questions. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the show. Again, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time is when they're going to go ahead and have the first episode. Next week, Rob and I will be talking about on Wednesday night episodes, all the stuff that went down during the show. So keep an eye out for that as well. Other big news here today. The Giants announced today that the training camp dates that'll be open to the public. So that's always a little fun thing for y'all that are in the New York, New Jersey area there every year. The very first training camp session, which is the 24th of July, is open to the public. So that's pretty fun that the first time they all get together, you get to see that. The dates overall they have is the 24th through the 26th, the 28th through the 30th, the 1st and the 2nd of August, along with the 4th and 6th as well. So the last 2 of them, the 5th and the 6th, those are going to be joint practices with the Detroit Lions leading up to the game against the Lions there. Again, we know what happened last year. The Giants kind of got smacked around and embarrassed because they weren't nearly as physical as the Lions. We know how the Lions season went. We know how the Giants season went. I don't think those are, coincidental. Not to say that the Lions aren't a better roster, they clearly are. But the Giants came out of the gate looking bad. The Lions came out looking good. So hopefully we'll see a little change in what's going on there. Gates each morning will open at 8:30. So practices start at 10 a.m. The team also announced there'll be giveaways, autographs, other various activities. They mentioned potential Giant legends showing up. What legends? I don't know. I'm not saying LT is going to be there. That'd be kind of cool if he was. Who knows?
Maybe some goofballs.
Maybe some goofball. Maybe a goofball. I'm in Florida. I can't go.
I'll be doing my hair.
I would love to go up there for it, but yeah, I just came back from Jersey. I can't go again. At this point, I have other trips I have to do still. Actually, during some of it, I might actually be in Georgia at the lake house doing that. So every so often, he's got to float in the lake and drink some beer. It happens.
It's a good move.
It's never a bad move. Now, again, the practices are 100% free to the public, but fans are required to go ahead and get a ticket to attend. So if you don't have a ticket, don't show up. They will not let you in. The website to go ahead and get that is going to be giants.com/training camp. It's about as easy as it comes. Giants.com/training camp. Tickets are not available on there yet, but they will be very soon. So I would say this. If you are somebody who doesn't necessarily follow social media, Twitter, that kind of stuff, just kind of check a couple times a day right now, because some days may go quicker than others. I would imagine, especially the Sunday practices, because most people work Monday through Friday. You guys are lucky that do. I work Monday through Sunday.
Poor guy.
Pretty much no day off. It is what it is. So yeah, like I said, keep an eye out for that, because like I said, if you really want to see what's going on at the practices, it's a great way to do it, is to go there and see it. So let's talk about a guy who has been impressing in practices here, and that's Lawrence Cager, getting a lot of love here today. Seeing Jordan Raanan talking about him there. He said, tight end Darren Waller's retirement opened opportunities for others. It looked like this spring, Cager and fourth-round pick Theo Johnson will be asked to fill that pass-catching role. Both received some first-team reps and made plays in what primarily serves as a passing camp. Coach Brian Daboll even mentioned that Cager was probably one of the most improved players throughout the offseason, which could open the door for him to make a significant contribution this season. And that's kind of interesting.
Good.
You look at a guy like Cager and you go, you know what? Hasn't really done a lot yet in the NFL. People forget, though, he was a receiver. He never played the tight end position before going to the NFL. He was a receiver there in Georgia. So he's still converting over. He's had a couple years to do that now. Sometimes it takes a couple years to switch positions. You know, the Giants have held on to him the last couple of years on the practice squad or the active roster, a combination of both. So it tells you that they care about him enough to keep him. You know, they think highly enough of him to keep him, and that includes the current regime, obviously, because that's what we're looking at the last 2 years. So, you know, we'll have to see what happens with him overall. Brian Daboll, here was the exact quote of what he said, because I know Jordan talked about a snippet of it there. I got a little longer version of what he said exactly. He said, I've been happy with Cage, probably one of the most improved players throughout the offseason that we've had relative to playing fast, being able to use his speed, not thinking, being in the system here for a little bit. I've been very happy with his progress. He's got a great schedule. He has come in really early. He's taken to the coaching from Tim Kelly. He's had a really good camp. So that's really, I mean, Daboll's one of those guys that you don't typically know fully what's going on in his head. You know, that's a lot of positivity out of a guy who doesn't like to typically give you much. He's more the guy who just, you talked for 15 minutes and you have no clue what he's even talking about.
It's true. He must be a very, very good poker player.
Yes, not as good as Joe Schoen, I feel like. But Joe Schoen, I feel like, is definitely the guy who would not play poker. You know, but Daboll, you know, I think Daboll would actually be interesting to play poker, because I can see him getting really pissed off when he loses.
Yeah, big time. He'd definitely be throwing his cigar after you'd be chomping on it.
Starts yelling at this at the dealer.
How are you gonna turn on in the river?
You know, the scary thing is when you look up those. I'll give you a little behind the scenes for those who are aware of how this works. When you post YouTube videos, they have different keywords you can put on there. Like, hey, this is about blank, 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 and blank. When you look up popular keywords for Brian Daboll, almost every single one of them is angry, yelling. Like, that's what it is. It's hilarious. Kind of sad at times too, depending on how things go, because obviously they came back to bite him a little bit last year. But it's hilarious. But yeah, like I said, maybe this is the year that we finally see what Cager is capable of fully. Not that I'm saying he is Waller, but since they mentioned the departure of Waller, keep in mind Waller took a couple of years as well. He had other situations going on, obviously with the drug issues and stuff like that. But, you know, he didn't exactly go onto the field and be a 1,000-yard receiver right off the bat. He was also converting over from the wide receiver position. So there are some similarities there. My hope is that if Cager gets a shot, he just is a reliable pass-catching option that plays sometimes, doesn't play other times, because that's probably the best role for him, to be like a third, fourth tight end at that point. You know, so we'll see what happens there. Hopefully good things. Let's talk about people that kind of ticked me off a little bit here.
Really grinds Drew's gears.
What grinds my gears here? But people get on my lawn. No, it's when my lawn's bad. It's actually the PFF team here talking about our defensive line, and they ranked us. We're like middle of the pack here at that point. We're like some kind of average schlub here. Like, you see that man on the right of the picture there, Dexter Lawrence, the best nose tackle in all football, and you give us the 18th best. I'm sorry. And I talked about the show myself plenty of times that I'm a concerned person about this group because of the fact that it's a little light as far as the depth. But what's weird is they went into people that I don't call D-line. Like, I don't consider edge rusher a defensive lineman in the 3-4. I consider them their own position because they're doing things that defensive linemen don't do. You don't put defensive linemen out there in coverage very often. Sometimes you do in certain defenses. Not very often because they'll get burnt most of the time. You know, you don't do some of the stuff you do with these guys. So it's a different position. But here's the notes that PFF gave. They said New York Giants in 18. Dexter Lawrence is a unique player, winning at a greater rate and with far more volume than any other nose tackle in the game when rushing the passer. Adding Brian Burns in the offseason gives the Giants a much better threat on the edge, and now the team needs Kayvon Thibodeau to take a step forward. Though he got into the double-digit sacks in year 2, he had just 43 QB pressures from 520 pass rushing snaps, and his PFF pass rushing grade declined from his rookie season. It's weird they spend a lot of time talking about the edge. I'm sorry, I don't consider that edge a defensive line thing. And it's hard for me to sit there and say, okay, you got 3 starters. One of the 3 is the best in the goddamn league. And you're middle of the pack?
Yeah, it's like how bad we make them sound.
Yeah.
Best and 2 guys that they should be closer to that 10. But hey, let's just let them fall to 18.
That's below average. There's 32 teams in the league, so we're barely below average, but we're below average. And what's weird is if you include the edge room, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns may not be the best duo in the NFL. Like, I'm not trying to suggest in any way, shape, or form that, but that's a damn good duo. That's a duo that most teams would give their left nut for. Like, that's probably top 10 duos in the league. Neither one of them are top 10 players, but they're both top 20 players at the edge rush position. 20 to 30. I mean, they're probably in a range at that point. You know, so yeah, that's a damn good duo. So if you're including the edge, that should improve the ranking. And when all you do is talk about a guy who had double-digit sacks last year, a guy who has been a 2-time Pro Bowler, and a guy who's the best nose tackle in the NFL, and you're giving us a below average grade, that doesn't seem quite fair, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I'm going to tell you that it's like saying back in 1984, the Chicago Bulls were they were an okay team. They were a good team. They weren't great. Granted, majority of that starting team went to become the dream team on the Olympics, but whatever. They're all right.
The majority of the team, the 2 players. That's not the majority.
But when you're talking 5, close enough.
Well, I guess Tony Kukoc was on there as well. different country, but but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just, to me, it's a little crazy. I mean, I think they're getting a little ahead of themselves and worrying about their own rankings and going, oh, well, Kayvon's ranking wasn't the best with us, therefore, like,
this must be true.
Yeah, like, you got still 2 great pass rushers and the best defensive tackle and best nose tackle, I should say, because I don't want to get the Chris Jones people arguing with us here, but at the very least, the best nose tackle in all of football. Like, that's just insane to me to have that kind of grade. Again, we're not a top 5. I'm not trying to say that, but if you're including the edge room, we're top 10. We are top 10. So screw you at PFF. So, all right, let's talk about us being snubbed again. What's with the Giants being snubbed, guys? Like, why are we getting pooped on here? I get it. Like, we're not the greatest team right now. I'm not trying to say we are, but we don't deserve to get pooped on. Okay, we're not Johnny Depp's bed. We're not Johnny Depp's bed over here. Okay, stop Amber Hearding on us here. But yeah, Malik Neighbors left off of the NFL's all-rookie offense, and that team was announced by NFL.com's Chad Rodgers. And you know what made the list? Marvin Harrison Jr., which I don't think that shocks anybody. I think
gonna say,
if you're making a list like that, you got to think Marvin Harrison Jr. is on there. But Xavier Worthy. Like, Xavier freaking Worthy. And don't get me wrong, he had a decent career in Texas. I'm not trying to say otherwise. But this is not the guy who is a top flight prospect there, Like, he's just not. And that's a little crazy to me. It's kind of a slap in the face to Neighbors, to be honest with you guys. Malik Neighbors, unanimous All-American at LSU, led all FBS schools, not just the SEC, not just LSU, all of the SBS schools in receptions with 89, receiving yards with 1,569 yards, and receiving touchdowns with 14. That's the 3 most important stats. That's the Triple Crown. Yeah, that's what that is. And I gotta think this is, like I said, a reflection on the lack of confidence in Daniel Jones more than an issue with Neighbors itself, which is kind of sad. I mean, you get rookie receivers that do succeed without having top tier, quarterbacks. I mean, look at last year. I mean, I think Jordan Addison had a freaking awesome year, and he had guys that were like 5th, 6th string quarterbacks basically for them throwing the ball. He had to deal with Justin Jefferson and being the second target for much of the season. Malik Neighbors is going to be number 1 the whole season, guys. As long as he's healthy and doesn't all of a sudden randomly look like poop, he's going to be number 1. There's no doubt about that. There is nobody challenging him for that number 1 position. No one, because the Giants will be pissed if he doesn't get it. Pissed. You don't draft a guy 6th overall and not give him every chance to lose that. So, it's a little crazy. Absolutely crazy, I should say. I mean, I get it. Mahomes is a much better quarterback than Jones is. Like, I'm not trying to debate that whatsoever. I'd be a madman to do that. It's beyond a goofball. I'd be a madman.
Yeah.
But Neighbors had such a better college career than Worthy, guys. Like, that's just crazy to do, And I got to think, like, I get it. Better QB, worse receiver, better receiver, worse QB. Like, to me, there's got to be a certain level of that balancing each other out to a certain degree there. And it's just not there. I mean, to give you guys the stats on Worthy, 75 catches, 1,014 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Not a bad year, guys. I'm not trying to, look bad on Xavier Worthy whatsoever. That's not a bad year. But that's both those guys doing it in the same conference in the SEC. That's a big difference. You're talking 2/3 the yards and 1/3 of the touchdowns, and only 15 more receptions. That's insane difference there, guys. That's a freaking massive jump. So it's a damn slap in the face. And again, the issue is not with Marvin Harrison Jr. That's an obvious pick there. The guy was the Fred Blindekoff award winner last year as the best receiver in college. Although, to me, Neighbors should have gotten it again. He led the FBS schools in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. How do you not give it to the guy? That just seems a little crazy.
Harrison Jr., that's why.
I get it. Like I said, I get the thing. They're doing at that point. Obviously, Harrison Jr. didn't have the same quarterback play. There's other things like that. But to sit there and say that Worthy's going to have a better season, that just drives me a little crazy because I think Neighbors, I've talked about it before. We've said it ad nauseum, and I've said it even before we drafted him for the record. I said this is about him. Neighbors has the potential to be the very best receiver in this draft. He has the highest ceiling of anyone in this draft. Receiver-wise, at least. I know there'll be some questions. Oh, who can be quarterback, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But at the receiver position, Harrison was the sure thing. He's the guy who's going to have the highest floor. Neighbors have the highest ceiling. So a little bit of snub there at that point, to put it nicely. So hopefully he gives a little fuel to the fire, ticks them off a little bit, gets them going, has them beating on the Cowboys, the Eagles, and all, especially after talking trash about Diggs there.
I was going to say.
So, we'll see how he responds, but that to me would be, if I was him, I would have that posted on my locker, on my front door as I leave the house where I see it. Like, I would be that guy.
There's going to be a lot more coffin emojis going around.
A lot more coffin emojis. Oh, yes. Which, I don't know. How do you even hit that? It's like, it's a C. Like, isn't there like codes you can put in to get that stuff to pop up automatically without actually hitting the emoji button?
Oh, it beats me.
I'm old.
Let's say it might as well be a boomer because I'm like, let me just search the emoji buttons.
Yes. Hashtag emojis.
Yeah. Now I'm using my thumbs. I do my fingers. Have to put the phone down.
All right, guys. Let's pay the bills real quick, and then we got one more story here for you guys here tonight. So let's get into it. Bill paying time, whenever I can find it here. There we go.
Enjoying the show. Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. Last story here for tonight. 2021 draft. Very popular one to talk about here for the New York Giants. Well, Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team did a redraft of the 21 first round there. Now, recap real quick for those who may have forgotten what happened there. The Giants wanted, let's call it what it is. The Giants wanted Devonta Smith, who obviously went to the Eagles. They wanted to pick him at number 11. So pick 10 sitting there. He's still available. I guess the Cowboys didn't want him. The Eagles did. The two of our worst nightmares went ahead and traded to screw us over. And the Eagles ended up getting Smith. I think it was a third-round pick they gave up to get him, like to drop 2 spots, which is ironic. We talked about the Falcons before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that was what the trade. I didn't put that in my notes, but I'm pretty sure that's what they gave up.
I believe you're right.
The Giants then traded with the Bears to go down to 20. Obviously, we got a little more than a third-round pick to do that. Bears took Justin Fields. The Giants took one Florida wide receiver, Kadarius Toney, a man who lived in infamy in Giants history. The guy who still talks trash about us, so we're still going to talk trash about him.
Unless we're blocked from his X account.
Yeah, because he's a wuss. I mean, who said that? What?
What?
Who? What?
Yeah.
But yeah, So Mosier decided, like I said, he redid this whole draft here. He went to a guy that didn't get drafted until the 6th round for us. And I love the pick. And that's the crazy part. Love the pick. I think Patrick Mahomes would hate the pick, but he's got both these guys in his team now. He had to take a Trey Smith. You know, every couple of years, there's a guy who drops that shouldn't have dropped. And it just is what it is at that point there. I mean, you know, you get a guy like Tunsil who had the whole gas mask incident, and that made him drop at that point there. You had, what's his name? Laurel Collins? Is that his name? I'm trying to remember now. What was the one the Cowboys had that went off to Bengals?
Are you talking about
Laurel Collins. I'm looking it up to verify. I wasn't planning on mentioning that one specifically, but that came to mind. So I guess there was some kind of issue where the cops wanted to talk to him right around the draft weekend, and he was going to be a first-round pick, Collins was, and they let him go and drop down, and then he was giving rumors he wasn't going to sign with anybody unless he wanted to go to that team, so they let him nobody drafted him. I said that year I would have drafted him with a 7th-round pick. Screw you, you're coming in, deal.
Yeah.
But, you know, every couple of years there's a guy who drops like that. That year, it was Trey Smith. So the write-up Mosier gave, he said, Trey Smith fell to the 6th round due to a medical issue. But in this redraft, he goes to pick 20 to New York Giants. Smith is a mammoth offensive guard who has started a combined 60 games, including the playoffs for the Chiefs during the last 3 years. Smith would really help the offense. I said it would really help the Giants' weak interior offensive line. Yeah, 100% right. A whole lot more than Kadarius Toney is right now, that's for damn sure. You know, Kadarius Toney became a fan favorite pretty quickly because, you know, he had a interesting, you know, first year where you saw some spark there, but we didn't know all the off-field issues he was having within the organization. Obviously, lasted not even a full second season with us before they traded him away for a 3rd-round pick that later became Darren Waller. And then instead we could have Trey Smith, who's an all-pro guard, you know, cheap contract for 4 years too. Keep in mind, he's a 6th-round pick. They're paying him peanuts until he gets re-signed. Then, you know, but in the beginning, they're paying him peanuts, and that's what they do. I mean, I feel like every year there's a guy who drops, and a lot of times for some reason it's been offensive line in recent history here. When a guy is talented and drops, sometimes you take the risk, especially if it's a 6th-round pick. Most 6th-round picks don't even make your roster. So great job by the Chiefs of recognizing the 31 mistakes that were going on. I'll give them their kudos for that. But in this case here, Trey Smith becomes a New York Giant. And imagine how much better our offensive line is with Trey Smith and Andrew Thomas. That's 40% of our spots by like really good players at that point there. That would have been a huge difference. We probably wouldn't be sitting here going, Daniel Jones, his excuses still. His offensive line stunk. This stunk. That stunk. Yeah. Here's one more spot that wouldn't have stunk. But unfortunately, we weren't smart enough to make that decision. So, all right, guys. And I just saw the comment, too, from Deb saying, great story, guys. I don't have Max, so we'll depend on you for Hard Knocks reports. Yeah. Like I said, we'll be there then the day after on Wednesday. They're giving you guys a full report there. We thought about doing a live reaction show, but to be honest, I feel like a lot of people are going to do that, and I'd rather watch it a couple of times and kind of see things that we might not have seen the first time we watched it. So we'll have those kind of stuff for you guys. Like I said, the day after, we'll do that on Wednesday. And the nice thing is that'll probably be going forward our Wednesday show for a little while there, because is it 6 episodes? Is that what they said it was going to be?
I believe it's 6.
I remember.
Yeah.
How many episodes? Hard Knocks. Let's see. I'm going to look it up real quick for us. Hard Knocks, Giants. 5. So it's a 5-part series. So yeah. So for 5 weeks, that'll be our Wednesday show. Make it nice and simple there for you guys. So, all right, guys. So that calls it our night for us there. We'll be back again tomorrow night, though, so you won't have to miss us for long. Now we were planning today was going to be continuing our series on, where are they now with ex-Giants that we drafted. A lot of stuff popped up news-wise. We said, let's give all the news at that point there. And obviously, that'll probably happen tomorrow, guys, unless anything big breaks or anything else happens there. So keep an eye out for that. We are on year 2010. That's the year we're on.
2010.
Yes, listen, it seems like not that long ago, guys, but
we were rocking with the boots with the fur.
Yeah, that was the year.
The whole place was looking at her.
Yes, she hit the floor, but that was that was almost 15 years ago. It's 14, but I'm saying it's almost 15 years ago. But listen, we talked about some really bad draft classes. This is the one with JPP, Linval Joseph. Like, you got some good picks there in 2010. So some good times to look back on that, really helped get everything going. Plus Matt Dodge. Who doesn't like a good Matt Dodge story?
Dodge out of this.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. Okay, we're back tomorrow night. As always, we are live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or actually usually around 9:05 when Rob decides to come on. Oh, called you out. What now?
Or if Drew's having some technical problems, whatever.
Occasionally it's on me, but usually I'm sitting here at 8:55 on Coughlin time. Rob got fined today, guys, don't worry. But yeah, we're live on
let me get that.
YouTube, Facebook, write the check out to Antonio Pierce. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite,
Drew's LinkedIn.
Wow. Oh, yes. And of course, always available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. Big ones, obviously, being Apple and Spotify. Of course, all the regular ones as well there for you guys, iHeartRadio and all those kind of fun ones, Amazon and all. If you haven't already, guys, do me a favor. Give us a like, give us a share, hit the little plus sign on YouTube here. That kind of stuff really helps out there, gets it pushed out to everybody there. We'll be back, like I said, again tomorrow night there, so you guys won't have to miss us too long. Appreciate you guys for watching as always. And as always, Giant fans,
go T-Man!
and the masters of the universe.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.